Hello, I'm Emma B. Perez, life design and career coach for teens and young adults. This Empower Your Teen YouTube channel is all about supporting parents. To learn how your high school or college age child can go from undecided to excited, click the link in the description box. To get even more support as a parent, just stick around by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. Okay, let's get to today's topic. Right. Hello, Marshall.
Hello, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
So, I'm excited to talk with you because you're a mental health counselor. What a great resource for parents of teens. I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your story with us and how you got into mental health counseling.
Well, you'll probably see very quickly that I got into it mostly for self-help. There was and a lot about this to tackle, to manage, and so I thought I'd just get firsthand experience. Uh, I think I just always liked the idea of helping. My mom, when I was 8 years old, she went away and did residential treatment for depression. It was so bad. And I just think the greatest gift she ever gave me really was going to take care of that and the work she continued to do. Uh,
Wow.
just kind of changed things. And so I think there was always a kind of a bit of an interest in a person's ability to kind of have an impact on things like that. But
That's
I
amazing.
actually, one of the reasons too I got into it, my first career plan didn't pan out the way I thought it was going to. And so I had to go back to the drawing boards, and it just, all of a sudden things just kind of clicked like the keys, going, the tumblers. It was just like, yes, this is the thing to do. This is,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I actually really admire your mom for doing that because it's a different world today than it was a previous generation, and that could have been much scarier for her to do.
yes. I mean, like client-centered behavior or client-centered therapy was, it had been a thing for decades, but still, even then, it was like her kind of dignity and all stuff. It was tough. It was hard. Thankfully, we've
Yeah.
come a long way even since then.
We have. And what a great example for you to see someone taking care of themselves, like you said. That's amazing. And
Yes.
then your curiosity just came from that. So that's a great story. Thank you. And I also love hearing about people who have kind of had a change in their career or their trajectory from what they thought.
Yeah.
Especially working with young people that are so worried about getting it right, getting the right thing right away. And it's like, well, not everybody does, and that's okay.
Exactly. So much of it is not just meant to pan out immediately. We learn tons in the process.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Okay, so we have families here with us that are here because they have teens that are trying to make some decisions for life after high school, whatever that looks like for them. And maybe they're struggling to make those decisions. So I want to talk a little bit about what some of those scenarios could be and just kind of get your input on that. So first potential situation here is that a teen is trying to make a decision about which college to go to, which degree to pick, and they're really kind of stressing about making sure that they make the right decision, that they pick the right school, they pick the right degree program, and maybe there's some pressure and stress there. Do you have any advice for parents on how to help their teen make these decisions without so much pressure?
I know that pressure to, well, this is typically the kind of population, the kind of kids who would need help with a kind of a decision like this because they care so much. They really want to do the right thing. Most often these kids who are considering these kind of decisions, they're smart, they have high standards, they're driven, and they're typically sensitive and tenderhearted. And I see it every time that these are the three gifts that keep on giving to actual anxiety issues. It's like if you got these three great things, you better believe you're dealing with anxiety. And
Mm,
so mostly the idea is really managing the anxiety first. And you can tell your kids, you can tell yourself too, you might not believe it, But there really is, as far as it comes to things like this, if the standard in your brain is there's a right decision, there's the right school, the right major, the right this and that, you really are going to suffer from what they call paralysis by analysis. So you can already, if you like, feel free. By the magical therapeutic powers invested in me, I hereby divest you of the need to do it correctly. Because there really is no, like, correctly. It's like, yeah, there's no real right school. There's no right career, which sounds really hopeless, doesn't it? It's just a crapshoot, guys. There's no right, and you just, whatever happens. Uh, there's a popular, I think, mental health speaker. Her name's Mel Robbins. You heard of Mel Robbins?
I have.
I haven't heard a ton, but I actually had a client tell me about her the other day, how she really, really loved coffee shops and, loved everything about them. And it was her dream to own a coffee shop. So she set out to live that dream, bought a place, set it all up, ran the coffee shop, and learned pretty quickly she hated owning a coffee shop. But it was in the process of making the next choice, the next small choice, that kind of helped her actually come to that conclusion, and that got her on a different path to what really she was best suited for. So yes, have vision, but it's not so much about making sure you get that vision accomplished as much as it is about taking a next step toward that vision.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say these are in general tools, ways to talk about it. Now, this is, taking into consideration whether or not your kids even want your help. They might not even be soliciting your help. They might not even want it to begin with. It might be a good way to start the discussion, to tell them, well, there really is no right. It's about conscious choosing. If you teach your kids how to consciously choose, if you yourselves as parents, oh, see right there, there's a text message. I've stayed late today, and that's my wife.
How dare you?
So inappropriate. So inappropriate. I know decorum. Anyway. But yeah, you teach them. First of all, if you can be uncomfortable with the idea of having not lived up to your own goals, standards, and ideals, handle that first. That's kind of where I really spend a lot of my effort when I'm working with my own clients. So
Is there any like piece of advice that you can give to a parent who has the kid that is like, no, I got to do this the right way, and if it's not right, then I don't want to do it at all? When you have that sort of a kid, how can you help them get comfortable with the idea of there is no right way and it's okay?
you first consider the prospect of their failure. All right. And as you consider that, see if it brings up any kind of emotion. If it brings up any kind of fear, any kind of even anger, disgust, those kind of things. See if it brings up any of that in you. If it does, as a parent, well, that's really ground zero. If you go to work on managing that emotional response, because I firmly believe you are not picking any negative emotional response to the idea of your kids failing or anything in life. The brain is just designed ready. It already has programs ready to just be set off by whatever's happening. So don't feel bad. Feelings, experiencing emotions, experiencing feelings never was bad. So the more comfortable you are with, your own feelings, especially as it relates to your own child's failure, now you provide more of a safe place. You provide a foundation, a rock of security of sorts, to which they can turn when they inevitably fail and mess up and it does not go to plan. If your child is amenable to therapy, well, it might be a good place to introduce them to the world of therapy. Because if they're that rigid, it has to be one way or the other, they're going to explode. It's gonna happen whether or not you like it. There's that old Johnny Cash song. It's sooner or later got to cut you down. You can run on for a long time. You can run on for a long time. Run on for. I was just thinking of this the other day. You can run on for a long time, but sooner or later your rigidity will catch up to you. There will be nowhere else to run, and as a parent, consider that happening and that you could handle it. and that so could they. And that sometimes that's the thing that they need to experience before they'll be soft
Mm.
on the inside to receive help.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that's something that I talk about with clients as well is go ahead and confront your fears and then what would you do? You know, because I feel like a lot of us just, you know, our fears kind of sit out here and they're like, no, I don't want to look at it. Don't want to look at it. And it's like, well, just go ahead and look at it. And is it really going to be as bad as you think?
Right.
You know? Okay, so what if we have families whose teens are questioning if they even want to do college, which is can be kind of scary because they hear from school, they hear from everybody, what are you majoring in? Where are you going to college? Just already assumed, and that's the best path that you should take. And so if they're thinking maybe they don't want to do it, should we be worried?
No. In a nutshell, no. I kind of like, who is he? The Dirty Jobs guy, Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that, I mean, there's just multiple paths to making your way in life. There was the Miyazaki guy, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting off college because you're afraid, I don't think that's a good reason to put anything off really because you're afraid of that. If you don't think you're up for the task, but certain things interest you, certain professions that would require a college degree are interesting, but you're like, I don't think I could hack it. Well, there's time for therapy. Time for therapy. Because all the fears and stuff in life, they're telling us that life is super difficult, and those fears and those messages really aren't wrong. Life is so hard. One of my favorite quotes recently was, it's not that life is not as bad as you think it is. It's worse. It is so much worse, and it's compounded by other people's apathy and malevolence. And at the same time, like you're saying, when you're teaching your clients to actually, well, just look at it, we start to learn that we're up for it, which says something about really what we're made of on the inside. But you can't learn that about yourself until you head in the direction of facing your fear. And let's say when you do that, you find, okay, on the other side of facing that fear, maybe all of a sudden the confidence comes to pursue that college education, to take the next small step. Maybe it's like, I don't really want to go to college. I'm kind of interested in this. I want to just get going. I want to just get going with making something like that happen, or this, that, and the other. I like the idea. See what seems like the next step, the next conscious choice you can make. And for some kids, it's going to be avoidance. That will be the next easiest choice that they're prepared and willing to make, which means we as parents have to learn how to deal with that. The prospect of my own kids doing that makes me like just now, if I have that on the inside, well, that's going to totally impact the way I relate to them, which will not be helpful. I like the idea that I've got time and space to be patient with them now because I want to help them, gain confidence and trust in themselves, that they can learn from failure, that it'll be okay, that they can engage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What a valuable lesson to teach your kids too, that you can learn from failure because a lot of what they experience in life is about you can't fail. You know, the school system is set up for this is the right answer. You have to get the right answer. You can't fail. So, what a valuable lesson to teach them that um, there is value in failure. There is something that you can learn from it.
Absolutely, because failure, it's not like learning from failure is the backup plan. It's kind of the plan. Failure is inevitable. You're
Yeah.
The life is set up that we will all become flaming disasters at one point or another, if not on the daily. Can't avoid it. So just embrace the hopelessness of the failure that you become.
But it's not hopeless because it does lead to finding your purpose, right?
Yeah.
Finding your what you want to do. And I have a, a little quote that I don't even remember where I heard it, but I wrote it down and I look at it. It says fear means you're onto something. So every time I get really scared, I go, okay, am I going to let this hold me back? Or am I going to say, oh, I'm onto something. Let me keep going here.
Yes. I think this is why mental health therapy is so important because I can't talk myself out of my own fear when I experience it. Sometimes
Mm.
And it can help us feel a little bit better, but the body that, our bodies, as they produce fear and all sorts of, those other maladaptive emotions, is that it runs on like a different circuit that doesn't speak any spoken language. And so sometimes when we try to talk ourselves out of it too, it only aggravates the situation, which is why mental health therapy it can be so helpful, because it's like, well, I got the fear and trying to talk myself out of it isn't working. Trying to let it go isn't working. So how do I actually manage? What will help me manage? That's what I love about my job, is that I get help. Well, I got to practice this stuff too. Any good therapist, I think we need therapy ourselves. And so I have a good therapist. And so I undertake these things every day. I try to live accordingly.
Mm.
Anyway, so there's really,
Yeah, something that I will talk with clients about sometimes is oftentimes pain can lead to purpose, right? So something that you've struggled with yourself and you've learned how to overcome it, or you're in the process, there are lots of people out there that utilize that to help other people as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn to help yourself. Yeah. And you can then be of use to other people in ways that you can't really predict, but all of a sudden it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think magical things happen on the other side of confronting your own fear and pain.
It's true. It's true. It's scary, but it can be so rewarding when you do it.
It's amazing.
Great. So I'm also hearing you saying that it can be helpful for parents to start to kind of check their own emotions when it comes to this topic with their teens, and um, that we all as a family can use techniques to kind of calm our anxiety and
Hmm.
calm our fears, and that can lead us to a better decision making place. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's like the amygdala, fight flight portion of the brain. It plays a zero sum game with the prefrontal cortex, which is that smart, creative thinking, problem solving part of the brain, which means if this is activated, it's like they're on a teeter totter, a seesaw. If the amygdala is activated, then we are emotionally driven, and the smart part of our brain is overwhelmed by all of that. But if
Hmm.
we practice deactivating the amygdala, it's not like it doesn't do this and then we need to work on building this up. No, it's an inverse relationship. That smart part of our brain is bolstered. So much research supports that if we just focus on basic amygdala deactivation, deactivating the fight flight part of the brain, we change the brain. If you did diaphragmatic breathing for 20 total minutes every day for 3 months, your brain would look healthier. It would look different.
Wow. That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
okay. So you can't reason with anxiety, right? And
Right.
so if your kid's in an anxious place about making the right decision, then they can't reason out of it, and they're not going to be able to make a solid decision. So first things first is do physical things like the diaphragmatic breathing that you mentioned to get ourselves into a better headspace.
Yes. Parents have better access to their prefrontal cortexes. Kids don't. The kids' prefrontal cortexes aren't going to be fully grown till their 20s. Apparently, I
Wow.
think the research says like age 20, 21 for girls, 25 for guys. So they really don't even have a fully formed ability to get rational. We do, and yet we relate to them irrationally so much. It's like kids are specifically designed to reveal our own crap, our own stuff that we haven't worked on yet.
What an idea. Isn't that
No,
amazing?
this is another cool thing with the research, why I would say parents start with you. It actually makes a difference. It's like let's say in classroom one, or home one, or treatment facility one, you got the staff, parents, teachers. They practice mindfulness meditation techniques, which is another deactivator of the amygdala.
Hmm.
And in home, school, treatment facility two, the staff, parents, teachers don't practice it, but they definitely teach it a lot to the students. The outcomes are much better, much higher over here without
Wow.
them even teaching it.
Whoa. Why is that?
I think there's a lots of fun explanation for why. I just like to think that it just changes the energy of the people involved. If kids are
Mm.
emotionally driven, they're more likely to pick up on parents' energy right? If
Wow.
they can tell if mom's anxious, they can tell if mom's mad or dad's mad, dad's anxious. They can pick up on that without them saying a word. And that they're, instinctively they have ways of automatically relating to that. So if mom and dad are just kind of have a way of rationally and calmly relating to their own emotional upset, kids will pick up on that.
Wow. They pick up on that and they watch you too.
Yep. Yeah, they watch us how we live, and they pick up on all that. I think it's kind of like they pick up on the energy first without even us saying or doing anything different.
Wow.
And then they start to see how that impacts what we say and do. Now, for them, when we're emotionally driven and we're like kind of nitpicking and being super involved, we're
Mhm.
too often we're sending the message that we don't believe in our kids' ability to cope with difficulty and to learn from stress and failure.
And so they get to this transition into adulthood
They're just freaking out.
and they don't trust themselves.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Amazing. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is check yourself before you wreck yourself.
That's right. Yes.
Love it.
You can always begin there as a parent. And you can think your advice to your kids is kind of the cherry on top of all that.
Mm.
You can think, don't really give advice until you know and have a sense that your kids actually want it or are receptive to it. Otherwise, you're the peanuts teacher or parent. Wah, 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 wah. That's all they hear.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's so hard as teens too because it's just a stage when it's hard to get them to talk to you sometimes. It's hard to get them to engage in conversation with you.
Yes. So when they do, I want to encourage that again. So I'm going to be listening
Mhm.
more. If I start to pitch in my thoughts, my advice, they don't have the capacity to really make sense of all the vast wisdom and knowledge that I possess. They don't have the ability to really integrate and make sense of all that stuff anyway, but they'll pick up on whether or not I care, whether or not I have patience for them to make big mistakes and to learn from them. They can pick up on that.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. This has been so valuable. Thank you for sharing this with
Well,
us. So what I want to ask next is if there is a family out there that is saying, okay, maybe I should seek some mental health counseling for my teen because they are feeling very stressed and anxious. How can they reach out to you?
uh, my website, Life Works Utah. I'm based in Utah, but I do video sessions as well if need be.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you
All
go
right.
lifeworksutah.com, you'll see a spot to request an appointment. That's how you could get a hold of me.
Okay. And I'll make sure to include the link for that. And you also have a free gift for us today. Is that right?
Yes, just I mean for the kids too, and again for the parents, the importance of sleep. I mean, sleep it's there all the time, and we have a really weird way of relating to it. Know this, no human ever got 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. It never happened. There's sleep cycles and things where we actually wake up. Now we might not remember waking up, but we stir, we toss and turn and sleep weird all night regardless. We kind of think that something magic happens if we get uninterrupted sleep. Oh, there are amazing ways to relate to sleep. And it's happening all the dang time. And we just like to think, well, if I'm asleep, it's working. If not, we stress. So getting your sleep together is maybe one of the best things you can do also as a parent and help your kids incorporate too to really help them as they're making these amazing, awesome opportunity life choices.
And I've heard that sleep deprivation can lead to depression, anxiety,
Oh,
right? And and kids, teens in high school, I mean, they've got school early in the morning when their sleep cycle is later, and they've got all these extracurricular activities to get in to make sure they have on their resume and they have all this homework. And so I think the statistic I saw was 80 something percent of teens are sleep deprived. So
yeah,
maybe just helping them get better sleep can even help reduce some of the anxiety and help them get into a better mental space for making some decisions.
absolutely. For sure. I think they needed electives in high school, classes on power napping.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, why do we stop napping when we're kids?
Oh, naps are the best. That's one of my goals right now is to make sure I get a daily 15-minute, 20-minute nap.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so your free gift is you said it was a video, right? A video about
A little
sleeping?
video, kind of like this, little informal, going over some points for how you can start to improve your sleep tonight.
Nice. That's amazing. Okay, so I'll put the link to that below this video as well so people can snag that. Thank you so much, Marshall, for all of this. This was great information and it was great fun talking to you as well.
Yeah, you too, Emma. It's fun to talk shop a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. All right, well, we'll talk again soon, okay?
Hey, sounds good.
Have a good one.